This afternoon session, we are back to P for pricing after a fashion. We are asking, how do you successfully compete on value rather than on rates? And leading this session, I'm absolutely delighted to welcome Eddie Hartman, who is a partner at the strategy consultancy, strategy experts, Simon Kucher and Partners. And Eddie was also one of the founders of the business LegalZoom, serving as both the Chief Technology Officer and the Chief Product Officer of that business for more than a decade. He's also the co-author of the upcoming book, Pricing for Growth. Welcome, Eddie.
Thank you so much, Richard. Just one moment and I'll share my slides. It's a real pleasure to be here today. I'm calling from California. And I wanted to begin with an introduction, sort of why in the world should you listen to me about any of this? So just a quick bona fides. In addition to being an individual who came to law rather late in life, from the great state of New Jersey, which is, we know, where Old Truth comes from, I did found LegalZoom, which is the oldest unicorn. It's the oldest privately held company worth more than $1 billion, founded in the sort of technology era. I also helped get a company off the ground called Ironclad, which now has 75 million of investment from Sequoia, a very great legal tech company helping general counsels to keep their house in order, as well as advising some other companies which are getting a lot of attention in the US. Lectured at Yale Law and Stanford Law and had positions there. And I'm a charter member of the Hague Institute for International Law Committee on Justice. But I think most people know me from my past position at LegalZoom, where I was Chief Product Officer. And what that primarily meant was finding ways to help people solve their legal problems. Many people who know LegalZoom think of it as a technology play, and it is to an extent. But really what we were doing was fitting lawyers into a platform to provide service to SMEs and to a limited extent consumers. This meant lots and lots and lots of attorney consultations, which meant in exchange, as a knock-on effect, I had to manage a very broad network of law firms to do this servicing in not only the US, but increasingly abroad. So this would be Beaumont, which was acquired in 2015 and has been run as part of LegalZoom ever since. Now, I left LegalZoom in 2016 and became part of Simon Kucher and Partners, where I'm now very happily a partner in California. Many people do not know the name Simon Kucher, but have been impacted by Simon Kucher because Simon Kucher is, I think, simply the world's leader when it comes to price and understanding how price affects nearly everything that we do. What do I mean by that? Fundamentally, price and value are in many ways the same thing. The Latin word, the old Latin word for price, pretium, also meant value. It was the same thing. One is a counterpart of the other. And when we think about units of measure, if you meant to measure fluid or a distance or the weight of a can of soda, we've got standard measures for doing so. We know how to do that, right? We've got yards, we've got meters, we've got grams. When it comes to value, how do we measure value? I would submit that if you could stack up the dollars that you're willing to pay for something, or the pounds or euros or yen or whatever it might be, and measure that stack, that is a measure of value. That is a way that we can say, what is it exactly that a person derives from our effort? Now, laws had a bit of a disconnect. So this is the rate of progression of fees. And I used to ask my class at Stanford, if this rate is going up every year, why is it that law firm bookings have not been going up at this rate? And the answer is, of course, that we don't collect this rate. Our collection against that rate is quite a bit lower. So why in the world would we be signaling these increasingly high prices and yet not collecting them? And the answer, of course, is that law falls into the third category of goods. Economists traditionally say there's a commodity good. Everyone knows what to pay for petrol. There's an experience good. You only know what you're willing to pay for it after you've experienced it, like eating at a restaurant or a movie or a book. But how about law? Like medicine, law is something you only know the worth of by believing in the provider. You are not actually sure what the benefit is of a given contract, for example. It almost certainly will never be actually put to the test. So what good was it? This is one of the reasons why we signal high prices. And this was an experiment that was done at Stanford. I think when they were allowed to do this sort of thing, they gave two groups of people shocks. This is real, until they experienced a headache. And then they gave each group a tablet to alleviate their headache. One group was told it was $2.50. The other group was told that it was 10 cents. Unsurprisingly, I think, based on the theme of today, the group that was told it was $2.50 experienced quite a bit more relief than the group that was told it was 10 cents. So price, in other words, is a very difficult thing to remove from value. And yet today, we want to talk about, as a panel, how can we sell on value rather than price, even though price in so many ways in the industry of law connotes value. I want to also let you know we did some independent research at Simon-Kucher Partners, and we know this is a big problem because junior partners do not know how to set a rate that allows them to be competitive vis-a-vis senior partners. They don't know what the rules are. And I've literally seen junior partners in tears trying to understand how to negotiate this. But when we actually asked purchasers of legal time, they had a very different response. They showed much less price sensitivity than people within the law firm had thought. And they actually value other things quite a bit more. Continuity of the relationship, flexibility, the degree of client care, general legal expertise and reliability. All of these things matter much more than price. Do we see price down there at 61%? That's shocking. That's almost the lowest rated thing on this entire graph, isn't it? So why can't we sell more on value rather than price? I'm going to skip over AFAs. I think we've all been AFA to death a bit, but I also want to say, is this the right moment? Now, there are a number of forces that we traditionally analyze when we say, is it time for a change? Let's think about new entrants. Has it ever been easier to start a new law firm? I would say no. By the way, there's a cat on my desk. So sorry. Joys of working from home. Cat, I'm afraid you'll have to leave the conference. Never been easier to leave a firm, and increasingly easy for junior associates and associates at a firm to say, I'm not happy with the life, I'm going to start a new law firm. And they do. And we have statistics on this. Similarly, the ability of your counterparty, the purchaser of legal time, to bargain is radically improved. Technology, so I consult with Wolters Kluwer quite frequently, and Wolters Kluwer is introducing technology to scrutinize our bills. They used to do it by hand, but now machine learning can keep a constant watch over everything that's put forward in an invoice to a client. Furthermore, you're not dealing with a general counsel as much as you're dealing with legal operations or potentially procurement or potentially both. All of this is raising the bar in terms of customer bargaining power. And when we think about the substitutes, large, well-funded alternative legal service providers like Lawyers on Demand in the UK, Axiom Legal, Flex by Fenwick, all of these are creating quite a bit of change. And of course, the regulatory changes, first in the UK with the Legal Services Act of 2007, but now we see major accounting firms coming in competing as well. And in the US, there was just a ruling in the state of Arizona that will permit full-fledged non-lawyer ownership of a law firm, which of course could permit national brands in the US and beyond to act as law firms, even though they're in fact in the US, what would be a C corporation. Finally, we see that geography is no longer as much of a factor, particularly in the COVID era. As geographic barriers fall, we see traditional non-compete in organizations that wouldn't be competing, being able to compete quite a bit more swiftly and oftentimes on quite level footing. So when I bring this all together, I'd like to introduce my panel, but I think it's the right time to ask ourselves, is it time for a change? Is this the right moment to think about value selling?